What's up, everybody? This is Yves and Danny. We've had a lot of interest in this Facebook Live. We're super excited to give y'all some information. I was really proud of my headline, the secret sales technique to selling $2,500 packages. I was like, this is something I feel like people would be interested in. This would be a headline that would, give people an opportunity, which we'll talk about today, to realize how important sales is, how people are, whether they like it or not, selling every day. If you're a human being, even more so if you're a clinician. And then I'll talk about, which I think is so important, and this is kind of the secret sauce, I feel like. It's aligning your clinical reasoning and your clinical skills with the sales process. And I've just found out, of all the people that I've coached and done these one-on-one calls with, if I can get them to feel super solid about, hey, this is what it looks like clinically, and this is my sales or communication process to get buy-in for packages, they are off to the races. They don't do well when they feel like it's forced, right? Or if it's just something where it doesn't feel natural or authentic. And sometimes you just need reps, right? We build scripts out, you need reps. But as you get those reps and as you start to feel more comfortable, then you align those two. And that's when we see people like, man, all I'm doing is just having a really good conversation at the eval, laying it out really, logistically, and people are buying. And it seems so easy. And I was just like, man, you're finally in alignment.
Yeah. I would say you have a great sales title for talking about sales, right? It's just so funny what people resonate with. Anything that involves money or secrets, it's always like
right.
The secret for this amount of money, whatever it is. But legitimately, what we're going to talk about is how you can reframe the clinical skill set that you already have, where you get buy-in from people to frankly do things that are uncomfortable, to make habitual lifestyle changes, and to buy into your plan of care, whatever that might be. They have to believe that what you're saying is what they need to do. And they've probably been told by other people that they need to do other things, or the likelihood that you're the first person that they've gone to try something is probably very low as well. So they're skeptical. So you have to take someone that's skeptical and then somehow get them to buy in on all the stuff that you're going to have them do. That's basically sales. And in fact, I think that skill set is harder to learn than a skill set of talking to somebody about making a buying decision. So the 80% of the skill set is there. It's just understanding how to reframe that. And in a lot of ways, I think it's getting comfortable with talking about money. And that seems to be the biggest hurdle for most clinicians, is the fact that they've never had conversations about what things cost and accepting money for what they do. And they feel very weird about it. I know I did. I felt incredibly strange. I didn't want to talk about it with people. And, it's just something that you have to get over if you want to run a business. It just so happens that our business is helping people get back to things that they love, which we probably would do for free, but we can't because we need money for life, right? So if anything, this should hopefully help you realize just how much you probably already know and how you can just kind of tweak that a little bit to really help with your business.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I forget sometimes, I'm not in it as much day to day. And so I have kind of a 30,000 foot view, but in the beginning, it was hard. It was just the thought of asking somebody for $2,500 felt a little bit gut wrenching, not necessarily maybe because I didn't have the skills, but just I don't know, just it felt strange to me. And I don't know if that's a combination of who we are as clinicians. We're servants at heart typically, or maybe a combination of kind of what we learned in school, where it was just access and everyone gets access, but it was super hard. And we see that a lot, right? That's something that we could do a live stream on as well, money mindset issues and how you can work to overcome those, which most people need to do. Most people either need to create a framework to maybe look at it more objectively. Some people need to perhaps even just go to therapy and just really figure out what money means to them. And it's just I think it's a lot to unpack, just literally right there.
I mean, think about this. You come from the pediatric PT world. I come from a socialized medical system in the government. Okay, you worked in the school systems. I worked for a socialized medical system. I did not only did I not take money, but I didn't even talk to people about insurance, about copays, or it's completely free. So if the two of us can learn how to effectively sell within our own cash-based practices, anybody can learn that, because we come from probably the farthest away environment that makes any sense to do that. A lot of people have to talk to people about copays and co-insurance and all that stuff, and front desks have to accept payment, so and it's something that I do think it really requires some reps, because I would say I probably wasn't comfortable with selling for probably like 2 years. And like, even the first person that I ever saw, like, this guy, basically he saw me for 3 hours straight, and he paid me in straight cash. He paid me in literal cash. And I didn't I didn't count the money until after he left. And it was quite a while after he left, because I just felt like, oh, what do I do if all of it's not there?
Right.
Like, what's the, and I remember it was $525 in cash, and it was actually super impactful to actually have real cash, I think, more so than paying, via card or whatever. And I just remember, like, A, I thought, oh shit, this might work. And then B, um, just like, I almost felt like I didn't give him enough. It was weird, right? It was like, I wish I would have given him more value, more time, and I didn't even associate with what I did was worth what he paid me. At the time, we were charging $175 an hour to work with me. And, so if you're feeling like you're struggling with sales, if you're feeling like you're struggling with the, understanding your own value and being able to be okay with that and charge for what you do, I think it's very normal. And it's a sign that you're probably a fairly kind person that wants to help people. That doesn't mean that you can't be successful in business. In fact, like, you're the people we want to be successful. Like, you're good people we want you to learn this stuff. Because on the flip side of it, the things we're going to talk about, you can use as a real dickhead and manipulate people in a very negative way if you start to understand how to use some of the verbiage that we talk about and some of the framing of different sales techniques. And you can definitely manipulate people into bad things. And I think that's where the negative connotation of sales comes from, is people like that versus the people like us that are just understanding how to, get people to commit to doing something. And really, that's what we want. We want them to commit to solving a problem so that we can ultimately get the result that they want. It's good for our business. It's good for them, so it's not something that anybody should feel bad about, even though I think most people start there.
Yeah. I remember, this is would be a good story. Like, the most helpful thing for me wasn't necessarily, it was the money mindset stuff was definitely important, but also it was just the mindset of what sales is. Like, I did have a very negative connotation towards sales and used card salesmen and tricking people on the right thing. And that didn't feel genuine to me. And soon as I realized that I was having sales conversations on a regular basis and pretty good at it. Like, I like one-on-one conversations. I like, getting somebody who is in pain and wants to go do the thing from WebMD or talk to another healthcare provider, and just like wasn't necessarily something I agreed with, to get them excited about what I could provide for them. Like, as soon as I realized like that's all I needed to do, I was super excited. And there's a time where I realized I was pretty decent at it. I never had confidence. And when I realized is actually, I think it was either first or second mastermind event, right? When there was like, the OG 7, and it was after a whole day of working together in Atlanta. And there was a concert there, 6 or 7 of us. We had just had dinner. And I think somebody mentioned that there was like a Jenny's down the road. And in my brain, I was like, all right, I've got 7 people. I really want Jenny's. I'm not sure if these people do. I'm going to convince them how amazing Jenny's is. And so I described how, their coffee espresso ice cream tasted like the best cup of coffee you've ever had, but it's ice cream, and I just sold this way. And it was like, before we knew it, we're at Jenny. And one of the guys was like, man, you're like really good at sales. Like, I had no idea. And I was like, I kind of had this weird moment. I was like, wow, yeah. Like, I guess all this stuff is translating now into other areas of my life. And I'm probably been selling for a very long time.
Well, it's communication of, you know, what you're interested in. It could be really anything, right? Yeah, it could be, you know, let's say your wife wants to go get, you know, Mexican food and you want to go and get a burger, right? And okay, game on. Like, who wins the sales competition, right? It's even my kids, man. I at an early age, I have tried to get them to realize the power of a couple things, of reciprocity and of pre-framing. And, you know, they totally get it. Like, my daughter will drop something at the beginning of the day for something that she wants to do later in the day, because she knows that if she plants the seed, the likelihood of that happening actually goes up dramatically. It's no different than whenever we talk to people, you know, about whatever it might be. And it's such a pivotal skill set for a couple reasons, right? One is, who doesn't want to get their, you know, their way more? I think everybody does. But also, it's very apparent once you learn sales, when you're being sold to, and how you can not be manipulated by somebody else if you don't want to, right? Like, you know, if let's say you wanted to go to Jenny's and I hated ice cream, you know, you could shoot that down much easier than if you had no idea what was going on. And next thing you know, you're lactose intolerant, you're eating ice cream just to be like everybody else, and you got a big problem on your hands later that day, right? So, like, this is verbal self-defense in some ways too, because you're learning how to, you know, utilize this. And it's so funny when we talk to people, the thing that I get out of this more than anything is the confidence that they feel that goes into any other part of their life. Like, even people that have joined a PT Biz team and we've spent time with them talking about how to have conversations, how to ask questions, how to frame things. And, you know, for them to take that out into the world and see how that applies to conversations they have with their kids' teachers, or conversations they have with, you know, people that are doing home services for them or whatever. I think it takes a lot of anxiety away for people that feel quite a bit of anxiety with any sort of verbal confrontation. Even if it's non-threatening, they still are very averse to, I guess, like, not necessarily confronting, but just having a direct conversation with somebody and trying to understand where they're coming from, but ultimately trying to just get their way for whatever intentions those might be, right? So I think it carries over in so many other ways in terms of just, frankly, confidence out in the real world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree, Mo. It's really exciting to kind of see the transformation we've seen in some of the people that we've worked with, right? Where it's just bled into all other areas of your life, being more confident, being more direct, you know, and I've seen that too, you know, to go on a tangent, right? But like the same thing, like in communicating with my children or communicating with my spouse, or even just communicating with business partners, and like it makes things so much easier. And that is kind of the reframe, right? Like, that's the reframe of like me understanding that sales is just really effective, good, helpful communication. Like, you know, can I communicate effectively to this person? Like, I resonate so well with a sales process that just logically lays something out and says, hey, do you want to, you know, here's where you are as a person, here's where you want to be, here's the plan. Would you like to commit to this? Yes or no? Like, that was just like, it laid it out for me in a way that it just aligned, and it just felt more, again, natural and authentic. Like, the idea of like not calling it sales anymore and calling it buy-in or commitment. Like, that's something we did actively at Made to Move. We just said, we're not going to use the word. I mean, if that's helpful or not, I guess, I don't know. But like, for me, it was really good for clinicians to hear, like, this is buy-in. This is them committing to the rehab process. Like, that's what we're trying to get them to do. We're trying to sell them something. We're just trying to get, like you said, like, commitment to a very, very hard thing to do, right? Like, don't listen to your friends. Don't listen to WebMD. Listen to me and commit to this new process. Work out, you know what I mean? Like, get stronger, go probably through some pain. Let me stick some needles in, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot there. And I think it was, again, very, very helpful to make that mindset shift.
And I mean, it's so true too when you look at drop off, right? Like if we look at real numbers, people that are not selling plans of care, they tend to see drop off around visit 2 or 3. And now, listen, I'm not saying that happens to everybody, but for sure, there's outliers out there that just schedule somebody a visit at a time, and those people come in and they finish a complete plan of care. From what we've seen now with literally hundreds of businesses that we've helped, implement this, most people that are not positioning a plan of care on the front end of their actual treatment model, what happens is they have drop off usually between visit 2 and 3, and that's because for most people that's where they feel a legitimate symptomatic change. And then they stop coming in because they think, oh man, problem solved. Yet we know as clinicians that what we've done is we've improved symptoms, but we haven't necessarily had the time and or opportunity to resolve long-term root cause, which if you look at what happens with that, and if you're just like, oh my gosh, I just want to help people so much, I'm just like, this great clinician that just wants to help everybody. Well, if that's how you honestly feel, you are not helping people to your best ability whenever you're not positioning a plan of care, because they're going to get a symptomatic change, they're going to leave, and probably a week or two 1 or 2 weeks later the pain result comes back, and then they think you're not that great at what you do, and you haven't had a chance to actually truly solve their problem with them long term and educate them on the things you need to do to really create this true long term change. So it's to the best benefit of you and the patient to actually go through committing to a plan of care, because as Eve said, it is uncomfortable. Like, I don't think we realize, we're so in it, we don't realize how strange it is what we ask people to do. I just try to explain what you do. If you're like a performance-based clinician, explain what you do to some random person that you meet. Explain that to somebody at one of your kids' birthday parties or something, just some random parent that goes, their kids go to school with yours. Try to explain to them what you do, and then think about the weird ass exercises that we have people do, how uncomfortable they are. How Eve's right. They're going to be sore. They're going to be uncomfortable. They're going to have to kind of regain mobility that maybe they've lost, or rebuild some conditioning and some strength, or you're going to have to do some manual techniques that don't feel good. And if somebody isn't committed, both with saying, hey, I'm in it for this number of visits, I'm paying for it, so I got skin in the game, it's so easy for them to back out and to just go back to their day-to-day life and just avoid the things that they really are trying to get back to, because you let them get off the hook. So I think of it like you're pinning them down to really get the change they're telling you in the office that they want, but they very well might lose motivation in a couple of weeks if they really want that. But that's not when the problem is solved.
Right. And we've seen the evolution, right? We've been in it now for, for me, it's been what, 7, 8 years, maybe you for like 10. And we've seen the evolution happen, right? Like it started with 2 to 3 visits, and we're like, man, that's not working. It evolved to kind of packages of 6 to 10. And now it's even evolving more into like packages of 10 to 20, right? We're realizing
Yeah.
that the longer we keep people around, the more we can hold them accountable, the more of a, and this is a word I'll use in hopefully every live stream, the better we have, the better relationship we have with our clients and our patients, the better they're going to do. And so getting to see somebody for 10 hours at a time to really dig into what's going on with them, not only with their body, but maybe outside of that, and just taking my time and just saying, okay, this is 10 hours. We're going to focus on, which is, I think kind of the second thing is like where you are now, where you want to be. Like, what is your goal as a human being? Where if you're in typically an insurance-based practice, it's a little bit more difficult. You're worried about like getting range of motion back or getting their pain levels down. The only thing, this is a big thing I noticed, the only thing I was worried about is I have a human being in front of me. I have an hour with them, multiple times. I'm going to make sure that hour is focused on exactly what they want it to be. And that could be having a conversation, that could be exercising more, it could be a little bit more manual. I was able to have this idea of clinical freedom, and the cool part is when I did it that way, it's made the entire sales process easier. And that's what I'm going back to. It's like, again, aligning kind of my clinical reasoning and skills with what I thought was a way to get commitment and buy-in from all of my patients, get them to stick around for a very, very long time.
Yeah, totally. Well, let's get into some of these, points that you like to go through as we teach this stuff, and we'll start giving you guys some tactical stuff to work on now that we've, you know, drawing you in with some stories of where this works.
We could do stories all day, right? Yeah. So changing your
Love it.
mindset. Yeah. Goal, making sure that your sales techniques are goal focused. The third one that I just want to like hit on too is, and this is one that I did a lot, and I know a lot of other people do, is just clinical jargon, right? Like somebody who taught me this really, really well, or it hit home for me, was reading StoryBrand and everything kind of being at a third grade level, which sounded ludicrous to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I need to use fancy words like neurophysiological and progressive overload and load versus capacity. Like I needed to use those words in order to make sure that I was the expert and they were going to trust me, and that I was going to be the one, like that's how I was going to sell them. And then it was turned upside down. I realized that if I use words that literally my third grader, which I'm a fourth grader, but third grader would understand, that is the best way to get buy-in. And it really changed my sales process again, where I threw all those words out, and I'll go through, which is the secret, right? What my 3-step sales process is and how I use that. But like, I just started using that, and I didn't use any more jargon. I just used very basic words, which honestly was a challenge in the beginning. Like at first they asked me to do that, and I was like, man, how do you like take what we do, which I think is very complex and complicated, and dumb it down to a third grade level? I was like, this is impossible. I can't do this, but I was able to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good way of looking at it, just simplification. And it is hard early on. I think for most clinicians, they'd like to talk in those terms. And what you have to realize is the way in which you talk to your peers is not the way in which you should talk to potential patients. Whether you're an insurance clinic or you're an out of network cash practice, whatever it is that you have, like you have to realize those people don't know what you're talking about. And all you have to do is think about some other medical visit you might have had, or some other interaction you had with in an industry that you didn't understand. Like if I talk to my friends that are coders about what they do, I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Different coding languages, the way in which they build things. I couldn't even explain to you how this is working right now. It's magic to me that this is actually happening, and I just believe something is working. It's bouncing off a satellite. I don't know what's happening, but the thing is, like, it's happening, right? So, but all I know is, okay, cool. This is a way in which we can be live and communicate something with a group of people we're trying to help. Okay, problem solved. Let's do it. All right. Okay, I'm signing up for it. And when we get a chance to talk to people, and then this is something that, again, it's a really good thing to practice in the interactions you have with people that you don't really know so well. And inevitably you're going to get this. So what do you do, right? And most of us are like, I'm a physical therapist. And they're like, oh, okay, cool, right? But really, if you function in a model like Eve and I functioned in when it was more performance-based stuff, it's very different than that, right? It's like, don't let me in with people that are just doing geriatric work and working with work comp patients and stuff. Like, it's a gray area between where a strength coach would work and where a physical therapist works. You kind of need to know both, right? So I would always say, how most people have some sort of activity they love to do, whether it's walking or running or playing a sport. But a lot of times they get hurt and they're not able to get back to it. I'm the guy that helps them get back to it and make sure they can do it for as long as they want, and they're like, oh, like tennis? Cause like my elbow hurts. I can't tell you how many patients I've gotten out of just that in its own right, at just random interactions that I have, because I frame it in a way that is so much more understandable than, oh, I'm a physical therapist and here's all my credentials. And, I can name all this shit. And all it is frankly a pissing contest between all of us about how many letters we have behind our name. It's like, dude, my buddy's a pastor, and he said the funniest thing to me the other day. He goes, dude, I just got back from this conference and it's all these pastors. And he goes, you know what I hate? I hate whenever they whip out their church stick. And I go, what? He goes, their church stick. Everybody wants to talk about how big their congregation is because they're talking about it's their church. He calls it their church stick. And I go, first of all, I've never heard someone say it that way. That sounds weird. Yep. But what he was getting at was all they want to say is like, we have 10,000 people in this congregation. And that for some reason, that's supposed to make that person feel better than somebody that has 1,000 or whatever it might be. And he's like, I don't care. Put that away. No one cares. We're here to talk about other things, right? So you got to get down to understanding what the other person wants and the way in which they understand what you're talking about, because nobody cares about your credentials. Nobody cares about how many years of experience you have and the people you've worked with until they think that you can help them. Then you can dive into some of the specifics, but you don't need to do that, nearly as much as you think.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you didn't write that down, you should write that down, because that was, again, a huge reframe for me. It wasn't like, hey, I've got all these letters, here are all the features and benefits of why physical therapy works. Like, as soon as I stopped saying that and I just said something like, hey, we help active adults get back to the activities and sports they love. Like that little reframe right there exactly got me patients. If I just explained it that way instead, they're like, whoa, that sounds awesome. And it's also a lot easier to say and less complicated. And right, like that's all I do. I just, you come see me and you've got something that you can't do, I'll help you get back to it. Right. It's honestly as simple as that. And that was one of the best little, simplifications that I was able to use, I think, on a regular basis, because that freaked me out. People come to the gym, I worked in a room in a gym. They'd be like, oh man, I heard you're a PT. Like, tell me more about what you do. And I would just go into this diatribe of dry needling and how it can help. Yeah. And like, because and these things are helpful because I'm a CrossFitter too, I can help you. And like all these other things. And then when I was just like, hey, what do you got going on? Like, what's your problem? Oh yeah. Like I can help you with that. Like these are things I see all the time. Like you're here now and you're going to get back to, doing kipping pull-ups. Like I got you. Like this, let's go do it. End of story. Right. Like such a, took so much pressure off in such a more streamlined way to put it, for sure. So getting things down, I think, to a third grade level, no clinical jargon, I think is huge. And so, to frame this out, like what is the secret? What's the thing that, everybody came here to the live stream or watching the replay for? And so I'll paint the picture. You've got a patient, maybe you've had a phone conversation with them already. They're in for the eval, and what you want, just all the things we talked about, is you want them to commit to a package with you, like a 6, like I said, 10s, I think are really the ideal right now in the performance-based, cash and hybrid role. And I lay it out for people simply. We do the evaluation, we do a subjective, which by the way, it was longer than what you think a subjective would be, because there's a lot of time developing rapport, learning about their goals, that kind of thing. Do some objective and some treatment. At the end, it's like, okay, we've got to get a commitment here. And I tried a lot of different versions of this. And what's worked for me is basically a 3-step process. So I would just get a whiteboard out, typically if I got one, and I would just walk them through what 10 visits with me looked like. And I tried to almost do it, like challenge myself in as little words as possible. Right. And so it would just be like, all right, step 1, I'm going to see you on a weekly basis. We're going to work on really understand what's going on and reducing your pain. Super simple. I'm going to see you for, 3 to 4 visits once a week. After that, we're going to make you stronger and more mobile. We're going to continue to see you once a week until you've got some strength and mobility back. Right. And the third one is I'm going to get you back to doing whatever you love or whatever that goal was. Like we're going to work on run specific stuff if you're a runner, or, squatting heavy if that's what you're getting back to. I'm going to make sure it never comes back again. And that's it. And we just laid it out very like dumbed down, but very, very clear. And once people understood, I think, what that path looked like, it reduced a lot of the fear, a lot of the anxiety, and just explained why 10 was necessary. Because a lot of times you're like, why do we need 10? Well, I've answered kind of a couple of objections already just through the sales process.
Yeah, I think the 3-month window is a really solid duration of time from what I've seen to make these long-term changes with people. And everybody is different, but if we look at across the board, I don't even know how many, like thousands of interactions that I've had with people within this same, sort of clinical setting. Like it's great to be able to see somebody, once a week for honestly the first 4 to 6 weeks, and then spacing it out, maybe even 4 to 8. It depends what's going on. And then spacing it out to where, we're basically releasing them back into the wild, but then with check-ins, right? So that's what I would say. It's like, I know right now, like your elbow hurts, you want to play tennis. I get it. And if they're in season, it's really important to them, then we're going to treat this differently. Like Yep, I know it hurts, but if it's that important to you, then cool. We're going to help you manage this. It's going to be, you're either an in-season athlete or you're an off-season athlete or preseason. Depends where you're at, right? And even though it might be a whatever Atlanta Lawn and Tennis Association, fun league, but to them it might be really, really important. So, okay, I'm gonna have to dictate that based on where you're at and what your goals are. In an ideal world, we're gonna let this calm down as we rebuild some stuff, and then we're gonna reload volume over a period of time. Like I'm gonna treat you as if I was treating somebody that's playing a professional sport. It's no different than that. And for them, like to understand, what they're doing and the duration of time. I mean, I think if you give me 3 months, I can change a lot with somebody, and not just temporarily, but create very long-term positive changes, and understand that it takes a while for them to get used to certain things, as well as make progressions, and for you to check back in with them when they have natural regressions in what's happening, right? This every little setback, and you being able to say that, where it's like, hey, we have these weekly because we expect that you're going to do something where you're going to have a setback. If you have acute on chronic, years and years history of lower back problems, it's highly unlikely that you're not going to have some sort of setback with your lower back. That's normal, right? And all I'm doing is I'm pre-framing the likelihood that's going to happen. So when it does, they're going to feel better about it. And then they're not going to freak out and think what we're doing isn't working. So again, it's just layering in sales in what I'm having them do, as well as the commitment side of it, right? So, the duration of time is great for that. Not everybody needs it. And I think this is the other key. Do not be an unethical dick about it, okay? If somebody comes in and they're a 12-year-old with a grade 1 ankle sprain, and you try to sell them a 10-visit package, don't do that shit. Like, that's not something that we should even have to talk about, even though I'm saying it right now, because we do have to do that, because people do what's best for their business sometime. And I get it, because I've been there when you don't have that much money coming in and you're like, where the fuck am I going to find, these thousands of dollars I need to make this month? But you cannot compromise your ethics for short-term revenue, because that is going to hurt you in the long term. And it's just frankly the wrong thing to do, right? So when we talk about this idea of a 10-visit package, does it apply to everybody? No. But the people that it does apply to, a big chunk of people that are going to come your way, it applies really well to them. And for the ones that don't need it, don't sell it, right? It's not worth you trying to sell everybody on a package if they don't need it. I mean, I just think that's something that I see far too often, and really, it shouldn't even be something we have to address.
Yeah, we can use our powers for good, and we can use our powers for evil, unfortunately, yeah. Right? And we want you to use your powers for good and make good ethical decisions. The idea of conscious capitalism, like you'll get really, really good at this stuff, and I think we can help a lot of people, but at the same time, and that's why we give, like, even at scale with some of the practices, like with Made to Move with multiple clinicians, I mean, we're always going to give people, the clinicians the freedom to, we're going to show them how to sell, but ultimately they're the clinician. They could understand, like, hey, I'm going to see you for this eval, and like, come see me in a month. Like, okay, cool. Like, we get that happens. We're not trying to sell a 100% package, right? We're trying to always do what's best for the patient, I think, in front of us. So, and to circle back, one thing I want to share too with the whole 3-step process is I've had to pull this out of people a lot. And so I want to give people like a way to work on it if they're maybe stuck. Like, maybe they have a different style of treatment than we do. Maybe that 3-step process doesn't necessarily resonate, or, you want to tweak it, which I think you should make it your own. Think about, this is literally what I do. If I got somebody who's stuck in sales and I'm talking to them one-on-one, I'll just ask them, and it seems like it's unrelated. I'll be like, all right, you got some eval in, like, tell me what you're going to do the first 2 to 3 visits. And they'll be like, well, I'll do this and I'll do that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, after that, what are you going to do next? And like, well, I'll do this. And by the end of that, I'm like, you just gave me your 3-step process. I was like, go back and think about these, like, you can basically put almost everything into a 3-step process. Like, here are the 3 phases of kind of rehab. And I was like, if you just lay that out to people, which you're already doing, and you just tell them that, in a, 3rd grade level way, you're going to get more people who are willing to commit to you, So think about it, write it down. What am I going to do with most patients the first couple of visits? Maybe your ideal avatar. What are you going to kind of do second? What do you do third, just before they kind of, wrap up and got their outcome and plan, end of their plan of care. We're not discharging. That's a whole nother question. I mean, some people we do, but, we want them to stick around long-term, but write that stuff out. And then all of a sudden you'll have probably a 3-step process you can use today with the next patient that comes in for an eval and say, hey, this is 1, 2, 3. This is what I want you to do. Here's where you are. Here's where I want to be. How does that sound? And I think you'll be surprised at the results.
Yeah, the organization of it through that way, it just makes so much sense. It's so helpful. And you're right, people really, they typically know what they would do with somebody. They just need to be able to lay it out in a more organized manner. I think the one variable that I would say basically trumps everything else and has to be there, just the foundation of any sort of sale, and just people committing to you or believing in you, is your belief, your conviction in what you're doing and that you can actually help them. And this is interesting because this is actually where we see younger clinicians struggle quite a bit more than than more seasoned clinicians, because they don't have as many reps. They don't have as much self confidence in their ability to get an outcome, right? And yet, when they have a few more years under their belt, their sales percentages typically tend to start higher, because they feel very confident that they can help somebody because they've done it before, they've seen it before, and they've seen the positive outcomes that people get to enjoy, after having solved this problem that they have. And if you can work on anything aside from kind of just like the structure of what we're talking about and how you lay these things out, the most powerful thing I think that people can actually improve is their own conviction in what they do. And the easiest way to do that is to actually think about, look at examples of, have conversations with people that you've actually helped, and see just how thankful they are to be back to where they're trying to go. And that right there will help your sales dramatically, because if that person doesn't commit to you, they're not going to get that outcome, right? They're going to go off, they're going to try all these other things. They're probably going to spin their wheels, and they're still going to not be able to, play ultimate frisbee with their kid. And they really want to, and their kid really wants them to as well. And if you let that person leave your office and not committing to solving this plan of care, then they're probably not going to get back to that, or they're always going to have to sort of avoid this thing that they really, really like. So the ability to have high conviction and self-belief in your skill set, and not necessarily being overconfident, that's a big difference there. Like conviction and self-belief versus overconfidence, there's a fine line. But I would, unless you're being, unsafe, I would bias people more towards being overconfident than being underconfident from what I see. Because even anybody that's willing to go into the cash-based world, you got to be a pretty good clinician to begin with, and if people feel that, like, this is the one thing that I didn't actually think was all that important. As I look back to some of the things with, like, people would commit to doing shit with me and I didn't know a damn thing about sales. But I'll tell you this much, I got people that come to me all the time and they're like, yeah, I've seen 3 other clinicians and it's not going away. And I mean, I would just straight up, I would just stare at them and say, that's cool. You haven't seen me. Like, I'm different. And I look forward to patients like you. I enjoy it. I'm the cleanup guy, and you haven't seen me yet. And that right there, like, think about that. You go to a physical therapist or clinician of any sort, and you're just like, nah, my knees have been bugging me for a long time. They're like, yo, hang on, you haven't seen me. Like, and what do you say back to that? It's just like, that is such a confident way of just saying, like, trust me, like, I dealt with this all the time. This is a Tuesday morning for me. This isn't nothing new, like. And that right there will lead more people to say yes to what you're doing than basically anything else, assuming you can actually back it up.
Yeah, I think you just gave people a hidden gem. That's a hidden gem right there of having conviction and just being confident in it, right? And ultimately, that's when I'm doing a lot of the one-on-one coaching, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, like, align those things, because I think that's where confidence will kind of come from, when, like, your thoughts and actions align kind of with your communication. But at the same time, like, yeah, you've got to be confident in your skill set. And I love what you said, that you've got to go back, and it's not necessarily do you need more clinical skills or more continuing education. Like, that stuff's important. We should always kind of hone our craft and sharpen our sword. But, like, realizing how many people you've helped. I remember, like, being fresh out of school and just I think it was maybe one of my coworkers, and, like, maybe refer back to the people that I even saw kind of in school who, like, I wasn't a great, like, what I thought wasn't a great clinician. It's like, did those people get better? And I'm like, Actually, yeah. Like all those people were super thankful. They loved seeing me. And I was like, look how great you did then too. And I was like, man, like, so it's like going back and just doing an inventory, of what you've already done and the impact that you had can be such an amazing confidence booster. And that will show, right? Like if you lack conviction in yourself, like I can give you every tactic known to man. If you lack conviction, it's probably not going to go well.
There's nothing you can do. There's literally nothing you could do. And I honestly think it's one of the reasons why, like, there are people that can come out of school and go straight into a cash based practice and be fine. I couldn't have done that. Like, actually didn't even think I was very good at my job until about 5 years out of school. Once that's basically, for me, it was roughly around that time whenever I started my practice, right? And keep in mind, like, I was teaching internationally about stuff that I was working with people with. It wasn't like, and even still, I felt like I still didn't know enough, right? Like, that's most of us. And conviction and confidence comes from practice and reps. It comes from having like a system that you can rely on that helps you get predictable outcomes. It's no different than business. It's the same thing. So if you're lacking the clinical confidence and the conviction in your own skill set, you really need to deal with that first. And and you can build that. You can build that in many positive ways, and it's going to be better for you when you do go into business for yourself. But there's also there's a subgroup of people in the space, and they are amazing clinicians. They've been doing this for a decade, and they still don't think they're good enough, but yet they're very much good enough to function on their own. They don't have the confidence for that. And like what you're talking about, it's thinking about the outcomes. It's thinking about the conversations you have. It's thinking about how much you've progressed from, when you were a student or when you were a new grad, and how much work you've put in. Because if you're there, then, you would be fine. But early on, I really do think it's better for a lot of people to wait, and give yourself some time to really get the reps and the seasoning that you need and the mentorship that you need, and then say, okay, cool. I think I'm there. I feel very confident. And this is what I would ask you as well. Like, if you don't feel, and I've done this on dozens of occasions. I've basically told people straight up, I was like, listen, if you buy this package, you don't get better, I will give you your money back. And I've done this because I've been wrong about certain people. But it's very rare that it actually happens, versus people are just like, whoa, okay, I'll take that bet, and then I get a chance to try. If you don't feel confident in saying like, hey, this will be free, like, you don't pay me any of my hours, whatever, like, complete refund. If you don't get better, then if you can't take that bet, I wouldn't open a practice. I don't think you're there yet clinically. And if you have that conviction to say like, if I don't get you better, I'll give you a complete refund. I'll work completely for free for this for 10 hours, like, then yeah, if you feel that confident, then you're going to be fine. Cause that's 80% of somebody committing to you.
Yeah. And it's difficult learning both. If you need to
Right.
go figure out all the clinical stuff at the same time, you've got to learn how to sell and market and run a business like that. I think it's ultimately just overwhelming, right? So we definitely see the people that do the best are confident clinically and they're just, fumbling through the sales process, right? Like
Yeah.
not following a script and like don't know what a 3-star, they're fumbling. But as soon as they get it, as soon as they hit it, after they get some reps in, you just see this hockey stick growth, which is, because they're like, oh man, people will pay 200 plus a visit. People will buy a 10 visit package. People will keep paying me $200 a month to see me on a regular basis. They just like false belief after false belief is broken. And then again, like I said, the hockey stick growth happens. So it's such a good point, right? Like be in a place where you are confident clinically. You don't need to be 100%. You don't need to be the best clinician in the world, but you got to be confident. Like you said, I love that. Would you take that bet? Like, that's a great little gauge. Like, that's a nice little, like, would you take that bet if somebody walked in? If you're, had a family member come in and be like, I get you better. Like, yeah, of course. Like, just come see me on a regular basis. We do this. If you're confident in that, then you're probably where you need to be. And now would be a good time to say, all right, I'm ready to go learn these skills, take the leap. Maybe you're frustrated where you are now and you're like, man, I think I can do this. Because this other side, like learning the skills, don't get me wrong, is hard. It's difficult, but the water over here is, the perfect temperature. We're having a lot of fun over here and, you probably won't look back.
Dude, that sounds so similar to one of the conversations I had with Kelly Starrett and his wife before I decided to get out of the military was damn near exactly what you just said. You know, I remember talking to them. I was at the Northern California regionals with a CrossFit team that I was working with as their team doc, and I still was very much on the fence. It's like, I don't know, you know, this is my career path. You know, this is what I want to do, and I've got a really strong chance of making major and lieutenant colonel and all these things that I wanted to do in these schools that I could go to and all this stuff. So, but I remember talking to them, and I remember him saying, you know, he was like, Danny, you just don't, I don't think you understand. And it's going to be very hard for you to understand what I'm saying unless you can experience it. But he's like, you're over here and it's just way better over here. You know, like the stuff you're doing, it's cool and you're helping a lot of people and that's awesome. He's like, but it's better over here. You know, life is better over here. You have complete say over what you're going to do and when you do it. And you have no cap on what you can make financially. And there's no restrictions on who you can help and how big of an impact you can have. And he said, even outside the military, he goes, I bet you can have a bigger impact on the military outside the military than in it, because they're going to look at you differently. And he couldn't have been more right. Groups that I had a chance to work with, you know, things that I had a chance to do. There's no way I would have a chance to do that if I was still in it. So, you know, I think it's funny if you say that. There's a lot of barriers for people. There's a lot of hurdles that they have to jump over to even get started. If you think logistically about the things you have to do, then it's the mental barriers of what you have to do. But man, the difference in your life and the difference in the quality of your relationships and interactions and things that you get a chance to experience in exchange for having to work past some of the challenges that we do to make any sort of business work, whether it's what we do or anything else. I have a lot of respect for everybody that's done that, because I know everybody questions themselves. They wonder if they're making the right decision. They wonder if they can do it, if they're capable. And everybody feels that way at every stage of growth that they have to go through. But it is true. Like, it is nicer over here in so many ways that you can't even understand unless you've gone through it. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you just can't, we can't describe it. Like, you just have to understand yourself. When you get a chance to go, you know, pick your kids up and drop them off every day, or you get a chance to, you know, develop this company and be creative in a way that you want to be creative, and design a logo the way you want to, or work with people under the circumstances that you want, or really focus on a niche that you absolutely love, and then hire people and train people to do the same things and impact more people. And you have this time and financial freedom that you develop, and you look back and you're like, damn, I was going to stay to be a clinic director in that dog shit clinic that I just left. Like, what was I thinking? But you're so trapped in it. You can't even understand the difference of what your life would look like if you were willing to just take a risk on yourself and get over some of the fear that you have. Because what you said, man, the water is nicer. It's, you know, it is great. And it is sketchy sometimes too, but it's very much worth it.
Yeah, it's funny. We have similar paths, but not exactly, right? Like, for me, it took me 10 years, 10 years to make the leap. And it wasn't necessarily somebody convincing me. It was twofold. One, being, I owned an insurance-based clinic, seeing what 5 to 10 years my life would look like, and realizing that that's something I was not looking forward to, was ultimately what I have reason I made that decision. Because, it's just to be in a place where you're like not looking forward to day in, day out. And I'm spending most of my day working. Like, this is going to suck, and it's going to suck if I stay here, but it's might suck for a while when I'm not here, but at least I'm building something that in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be amazing. And so, it was just like the pain of staying where I was greater than, the pain of leaving. And if that wouldn't have happened, I may have never left. Like, if it would have been like lukewarm instead of freezing cold there, I may have never left. But I'm so grateful that I was in a situation where I was just like, this is at that time, it truly felt like that was my only choice. What really wasn't, but at the time it really did. And I never looked back. Right. Like and then it just becomes a flywheel, where it just gets more and more fun, more and more difficult too, but also more and more fun. So yeah, I just want to encourage people, like, if you've got that thing that's gnawing at your brain, and not everybody does. Like some people are also okay just being clinicians and are okay in where they're setting, and that's fine. But if you have something that's gnawing your brain, it's like, man, I think I could do this better. Or man, I'm frustrated clinically. Or like, man, like all this that you guys are saying, like sounds good. Like then take the next leap. If it's starting, or if it's hiring, or if it's scaling, or if it's, raising your prices, like just like, take that next step. Like, you're one of those people who needs to do that. And, I'm excited to watch you do it.
Dude, I heard somebody say this the other day. It's a drill they would have people do that are looking at any sort of change you're trying to make. This could be your career, this could be your health, this could be your relationships, whatever. And it was this idea of forecasting your future, right? So if you continue in the same path, and let's just say this is your career at this point, and I did this unknowingly. I think a lot of people do this, and it's very easy to look at your boss and your boss's boss, and you just look at them and say, like, okay, what does their life look like? Not just their job, but what does their job look like? What does their life outside of work look like? What do the things look like that are important to you at this next step within your career? And then do that for their boss. And if they have a boss as well, then do it for them. If you're aspirational within whatever this this career is that you have, and if it doesn't align with where you want to end up, if it's not like, man, that's a home run, like it's awesome, I hope that's exactly where I end up, then at least now you know that, and now you can be intentional about what you decide to do from there. And if you can forecast your own future, and sit down and really look at that and say, okay, well, does this future path that I'm on as I go, does that align with the life that I want? And this takes some time and some thinking to really sit down and look at and say, well, what do I want my life to look like? Because not everybody's the same, right? Mm-hmm. Like you and I even are different in terms of what we want our day to day to look like, right? And what our interests are, and that's normal because not everybody's fucking the same. Like that's why we're different humans, right? But at least I know what that is, and you know what that is, and we work towards those things intentionally and not by accident. And for a lot of people, they just cruise through life, and they end up in a place where they don't want to be. And it's by a certain point, it's too late to turn around. You're 20 years into your career, and there's not a whole lot that you can do. You don't have as much time on your side. So I think if you can think about what do you want your life to look like, forecast your future, and if it doesn't take you in that direction, then you need to start looking at, well, what things do I need to start changing about myself for wherever that is, right? And again, you can apply this to health. It's like, okay, well, what does it look like in 10 years if I keep eating the way I am, sleeping the way I am, managing stress the way I am, moving the way that I am? What does that look like? And I can tell you, as clinicians, we see it every damn day in the office. We see 50-year-olds that are killing it and 50-year-olds that can barely get off the couch. We see 70-year-olds that are still playing baseball, and then we see 70-year-olds that can't tie their shoes. It's like along the way, they made these decisions that led to where they ultimately are. And if you can be intentional about that from the get-go, you're going to end up far closer to where you want to go than if you just let it happen and just cruise through life without any intentionality to what you're doing. So I encourage you, forecast your future, see where you're at. And if it doesn't align where you want to go, then you have to have a serious talk with yourself about what steps you need to take to actually get where you're trying to go versus end up somewhere that you just don't want to be because you don't really know what else to do.
Yeah, we went on a quite the little diatribe there. But
I'm not sure. Are we still talking about sales? Because
maybe I don't.
I'm kind of joking because the thing is, the tactics. Everybody wants the tactics of, okay, yeah, say this here, do this there, whatever. Like these are all things that are so much less significant than you think that they are. These are proven things that can help you if you don't know what you're doing. But it's so insignificant in so many ways versus deciding what you want your life to look like. And then you can make a decision about what it is that you want to learn, deciding to make a change. And then you can dive into the tactics and the specifics of the things that you want to do. And I see so many people that they're on the fence, dude, for years. Like I even see, I don't do all of our advisory calls now, but I review damn near all of our advisory calls. And sometimes it ruins my day when I hear people talking to our team and they make every excuse under the sun to not make a change. Like they will, and they're on a call with somebody to specifically talk about how they can actually like get where they're trying to go. They're obviously interested, but yet any little thing, it's like, oh, well, timing's not good. Like I've got my, my birthday is next weekend. You're like, how's that have to do anything? What the fuck are you talking about? It's like, oh, it's just, I've got X, Y, and Z coming up or whatever. It's never a good time, and all it is excuses that we say to ourselves to avoid the inevitable pain of the growth we have to go through. And every time there's growth, there's pain, and we avoid it, and in sales, yeah, I don't know how to sell. Okay, cool. We can teach you that, right? Or what other excuse do you have? And those excuses that we tell ourselves are exactly that. And the more that we do that, the more that we start to, basically inhibit ourselves from making this change that we really want. It creates so much stress in those people. I can see it. It's hard to watch because they want it. They want to do it, but they just can't. They're scared, and it takes a while. And eventually I hope that they get to the point where they realize they can do it and they need some help and they pull the trigger on it, because we know what it looks like on the other side. You come to one of these live events that we do, and it's 200 people that are as happy as hell. They're so excited to be doing their own thing. They may not know exactly what it's going to look like a year from now or 2 years from now, but damn it, they're in it and they're ready to go. And they're just like invigorated. And it's just so much good energy. And it's just, I wish people could see and feel that. And you can't really do it. It's like, you have to have faith that something's going to work before you jump, right? You can't know you're going to land on something and jump. Otherwise, everyone would do it. And I think that's what keeps people out. So anyway, I get a bit frustrated when I see some of those things, and all they want to know, they just want these one little tack is going to change my life. No, one little tack is not going to change your life. You deciding to make a change in your life is going to change your life. And then you'll figure it out, eventually along the way. And it's going to be exciting, but you can do it, because I promise we're not geniuses. We're just regular people, and we did it. Anybody can do it if you and I can.
Well said. I mean, that's why as our programs have evolved, there's such a bigger percentage of what we talk about and what we help people with that's around mindset, and that's around like self-development and improving your life at all aspects, not just helping people get to a more new patients or more, a bigger business. And the cool part is, as we put that focus in, not only has PT Biz grown, but all the clinics that we work with have grown, right? Because we've realized that this is the foundation. This is the stuff that matters, that'll give people the motivation and energy to do the thing that they probably already know how to do anyway, or can at least find out what to do, or can ask somebody that got a lot of resource. Like that is the foundation that allows them to kind of take that, I think, that next step, right? And so, there's a lot of you out there. Hopefully you're listening to this, you made it this long, you got quite the hoorah speech, and what I want to offer to everybody is, Brandon, who's in the Facebook group, does these free game plan calls. If you comment game plan, he'll reach out. His job is not to sell you anything. His job is to show you about our free resources. His job is to talk to you and tell you, what are some next steps you can take to try to get that ball rolling, because we put a lot of free stuff out there. Like we want our free shit to be as good as our paid shit. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of good stuff out there. So, we will have a lot of different resources that we want to share with you. So, again, if you comment game plan, Brandon will reach out, get on the phone with you and just, help you out and say, all right, cool. Like here's your next action item, and be surprised just taking that one step, what it can do for you.
Totally. There are a lot of free resources that we have. And the great thing about these game plan calls is we can figure out where you're at, and then, give you the next logical thing that you need to be working on. Maybe it's our 5-day challenge. Maybe it's any number of other things that we have access to that somebody like Brandon can share with you, who's had hundreds of conversations with clinicians. Like, it's hard to find vetted information from people that have actually had experience with, these types of businesses. And I'm sure it's frustrating because, everywhere you look, it's like, okay, well, so-and-so, that this ad says they can help me with this thing, and this ad says this, and as a consumer, it can be really hard to know, what is a good option for you, what is not. But if you get on a call, like a game plan call, there's nothing you can buy, even if you wanted to. Like there's nothing. All it is figuring out, all right, well, where are you at? What are the next steps for you? What are you working on? and then helping facilitate whatever that next step is for you, and curate resources so you don't have to try to figure it out on your own. I mean, I think it's for us, it's just starting a relationship off on a positive note, and eventually, if it is a fit for us, obviously we want to work with the right people, and if it's not, then we want to help you find the right person or the right resource. So anyway, just type game plan in the call, and then he can go ahead and get something set up with you if you're interested in figuring that out. So other than that, man, anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, hopefully this stuff was valuable, a little tactical information, right? Like start putting down your 3-step process, start working on those, building your own script out. This stuff will be absolutely invaluable as you go to sell some of these long-term kind of plans of care, getting buy-in, getting commitment, save this thing, come back, refer to it. Like there's just a lot of good tactics in here that you just need the reps, and, hopefully it was helpful.
Agreed. And next week, you get the ever elusive Jared Moon, who's our other business partner that is going to come on, and he's going to talk about running a financial meeting with yourself. How do you actually run an effective business financial meeting? And he's even going to share a template that we use to run financial meetings with PT Biz in more of a sort of stripped down version that's going to be more simplified, but in a really effective way to make sure that you're tracking your financials within your business the right way. And I mean, you don't want to miss that one because he's an absolute stud. So make sure next week you're gonna check it out, same time, same place. And other than that, man, Yves, thanks for your time. We'll go ahead and end it here, and we'll catch you guys next week.
See ya.